If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome back to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and I am so happy that you've turned in to another episode of yWrite. This is the show where writers are helping writers, and who's a writer? You can be a writer too. So today I have a very special guest. He is a prolific writer, and when I say prolific, I'm going to tell you all the types of writings that he does. He has done novel writing and script writing and stage writing and monologue writing and journalism writing, and he is a master puppeteer, which we are going to get a little sample of that also. He's an award-winning filmmaker. I recently just got to go see his premiere of a movie, which we're going to talk about, which is called A Mind for Murder. So of course that interests me as, a novel writer of April Rain. He also has made several short films, including not just The Mind for Murder, I say films, web series, where he talks about cybersecurity, and it's going to be fabulous when you find out exactly how he talks about cybersecurity. He won the 2021 Audience Choice Award for his film called That Gone Darn Scam, which the poster is right here behind me, so we'll zoom in on that later, and we'll find out what That Gone Darn Scam is about. So he's going to be releasing a one-man show in a few weeks, which is going to kind of tour New England, and who knows, it may be taken off. And so we're going to talk to him about his one-man show called Foes of a Minimum Wage Guard. I want to welcome my dear friend, new friend, and prolific writer, Ken Harris.
Hi.
Hello, Ken.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming in. I'm so excited. Ken and I have met over a series of, a couple months now, and every time we go away from each other, it feels like it's been so long, and then we get back together, and it's like picking up a conversation, and we can talk for hours, so tune in. This might be a 3-hour episode. Just kidding. So, Ken, I want to share with the audience everything you do, but obviously in this time frame, we're going to just kind of touch on a couple of the things. And one of them is, you started writing young, and you started writing children's books. You've written novels. Tell us how you got into writing.
Well, as early as I remember, I've always been very shy. Going to preschools and elementary schools, I've always the last one to speak, the last one in line, the last one to speak, the one who reluctant to raise his hand. And I believe it was maybe in the second or third grade, I had a librarian at my elementary school sat down with me and talked to me about my shyness and told me that she thought that maybe puppetry would be something I might be interested in to open up a little more. So I remember throughout the year, I assisted with her making a paper mache puppet. It was paper puppets made out of newspaper and all kinds of different chemicals. Those. And I thought it was kind of fun. So we ended up creating a very horrible Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat puppet. It was really messy, but I felt...
Do you still have it?
I destroyed it. I think on a bus home, I destroyed it.
Oh.
It took us over a month to make it, and then I destroyed it. But then
Second grade tantrum.
And I had kids on the bus telling me, "Did you make that? Oh, so that's why the librarian always come to get you and bring you in there." And then the kids were engaging with me more because of my horrible skills as a puppeteer. So I was open up, telling them my mistakes and how I screwed up with that. And then after some time, as I'm come from a family of we just love movies. Parents always took us to drive-in movie theater. We've always went to see the latest movies. I had my earliest memories just underneath the stars, sitting there at the drive-in movie theater and watching all kinds of movies like Ghostbusters and James Bond and Roger Moore, who's my favorite.
Jaws. I saw Jaws at the movie theater.
And Jaws.
And Grease.
So I've always been fond of movies and film. At home, my brothers and I, we typically watch a show called Kids Time Express on the former Channel 20 network based out of Waterbury, Connecticut. And every week they would have contests for kids to submit their artwork or their riddles to possibly enter the contest to see if you can win a prize, a major prize. So my brothers, they were artists. I have two brothers that are artists, and one drew a picture of Superman, and he won 4 tickets to Quasi Amusement Park.
Wow.
And another one, I think he won the same thing. And then I felt, I'm not an artist, but what can I do? And one of the categories was riddle. If you submit a riddle, I was a big fan of Inspector Gadget on TV. So I came up with a riddle about Dr. Gadget and Dr. Claus, the enemy. And I forgot what the riddle was. It was a funny riddle. But then I received a call from one of my cousins. He said, "Hey, your riddle was announced on Channel 20. You won, Kenny. You won, just like your two brothers. You won." I'm saying, "Are you kidding me?"
What a talented family.
Yeah, I could believe. So I won 4 Quasi-Amusement tickets, and I won a picture of this guy.
Oh, Alf. I remember Alf.
TX Critter. And it was a moment I never forgot. I said, "I can't believe I'm being rewarded for my writing. Wow, who am I?"
Yeah.
It was a wonderful experience. And then after that point, I thought about acting. Again, I was still a little shy.
Oh, I didn't even throw that in his multi-hyphenated world that he is. He's also an actor. Obviously, you're doing a one-man show coming up.
Yeah.
So that takes acting to do.
Yeah, and my father and I, we went to see The Bronx Tales in 1993, starring Chaz Palmiteri. It was a wonderful movie. And I started diving into research about the film itself, and I found out that it was a one-man play at first. And no one believed in Chaz, or he didn't have his big break in Hollywood. So he decided to take it upon himself to write a one-person play. I was inspired by that. I said, wow.
Yeah, I saw it. It was at MGM in Springfield, and I watched him do that. I mean, we're talking, this is 50 years later. He's still performing it.
That's amazing. I said, wow. So I realized after seeing that movie and learning about his success story, I wanted to be an actor. So by this time, I'm in high school, and I auditioned for the Commerce High School Drama Club in Springfield, Massachusetts. I was accepted in, and I performed in various supporting roles: Othello, Hamlet, The Crucible is a play I was supporting. And then I found out about the Northampton Team Players Group from out of Northampton. They don't exist anymore, but what they do is they help high school kids generate a screenplay about gang violence, drugs use, AIDS, all this stuff that is taboo in our communities. So I auditioned for that, and I was selected among several students to come together and write a show that highlights those issues. So we wrote a story called Hey, Wake Up. And it was a 60-minute play that did highlight all those issues. And I played a wannabe gang member by the name of Tim, who wanted to show that he's capable of being in the gang. In the story, Tim accidentally shoots a pregnant teenager in school because he wanted to show off a gun.
I mean, big topics. I mean, bringing a gun to school, shooting someone accidentally, a teenage pregnant woman.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of lessons in there.
We did the show throughout Western Mass, and then it slowly we did it in the eastern part of the state, in Boston and through the areas there. And then the WGBY network, which is PBS at the time, they contacted the director of the play, Sean Baylor, and we actually had the filming a segment of the show here at Commerce High School, and it appeared on the state we're in television show on the PBS network. And I had that VHS sitting around somewhere. It was a great opportunity. So after that, I worked after high school, went to college, worked jobs here and there. I worked loss prevention, which we're going to get to that later.
Yes.
I worked as a reserve police officer at Tower Square Mall in Springfield, arresting shoplifters.
Is it Springfield or Springdale?
Springfield.
I only say that because I know, that one of your first books, Jet Set Jeff, takes place in Springdale. And I know as a writer, we write what we know, but, we have to change something.
Yeah, Springdale was actually based on Springfield, Massachusetts. And again, I was a very clumsy kid growing up, not knowing what I wanted to do. I was quiet, but very clumsy, always breaking stuff, stealing stuff. So years down the road.
Hence why he goes into loss prevention.
Yeah. So my brother told me, why don't you write a book about a comedy about you being a superhero trying to save your mom and our mom and dad who's always in trouble. And I said, that's an interesting concept because Superman, his parents are deceased. Batman, his parents are deceased. Would it be nice to have a superhero who's constantly defending his accident-prone parents?
Nice.
So this kid.
So that's this right here. I mean, it's great.
He's imperfect. He divides a malfunctional gadget suit that never works the way it should.
Yeah.
He has like blazer skates that don't work when they should. He has a detractable long arm that works when it shouldn't, and shouldn't, vice versa. So I wrote this story about a kid who creates his gadget suits under disguise as a superhero and saving his mom and dad. His mother is a police officer and his father is a firefighter. And he spins through the different scenarios saving his mom and dad, who are just constantly getting in trouble, but they don't know that their son, his 10-year-old son, is saving them.
Great story, and funny too.
Yeah.
And so you went from writing a funny story that's about helping people to going into puppetry and talking about cybersecurity to writing murder and night terror things, which that is, you have what, 5 or 6 books on Amazon?
Yeah, I have about 4 books on Amazon. I have a cybersecurity handbook. Has an AARP Digital Fraud Fighter. I take information that I know, that I learn on a monthly basis, and I share it, whether in the Point of View newspaper or I share it on social media links. And then I thought, well, why not also take everything that I know so far and just share it in a publication fashion? So I wrote that cybersecurity handbook, and of course the Jet Set book. Jet Set book is also available on Amazon.
Yeah.
I also wrote Robert Smalls. He's a Civil War hero, a children's book that's also available online as well.
Which obviously took research to do, because you're writing about someone that the kids want to learn about.
Yes.
And a specific time period too.
Yeah, during the time of the Civil War. So opens kids up about that nature of in that moment of our country's history as well. So yeah, I'm very fond of writing. And also, puppetry is a thing that's always been with me, along with the writing, the books. So as an AARP Digital Fraud Fighter, I've learned about these things. I also thought that it would also be great to convey what I know in puppetry fashion.
Yeah.
Because as a puppet, you can do many different things. There may be some things that you do with a puppet that may not offend people.
So you brought in your puppets. You want to introduce them? Should I be interviewing them? Maybe I should.
Absolutely. This is Mr. Alex Midas.
Okay, Mr. Alex
He is
Midas.
very grumpy.
And he related to Richard Midas, the film, producer here that did We All Live in Castles and.
Well,
and
Alex would
Flatliners.
say that he's related to anybody, just to show that he's on top of the world.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Midas. How are you today? It's really great to have you in the studio, and I appreciate that you're willing to come on camera right now to discuss your work.
Well, yes. I am the former owner of the Midas Ice Cream Corporation.
Oh.
And I was ripped off by a scammer, and they stole a lot of my money, so I became a co-host radio talk show host. And now what I do is I help spread cybersecurity awareness to the world.
Yeah, and I think the way you can do it is not just telling your stories, but with Ken's help, you can reach out to children and of all ages.
Yes, I'd like to help kids be safe. It's important to be safe these days, especially when you're online. Everybody uses a computer these days, so we must be very extra vigilant.
Yeah, so I know that you've been around some of the school systems and you've talked to the kids there.
Oh, yes. I also been to Florida. We've been to the Florida Prosperity Partnership back in 2021, where we convey cybersecurity awareness and fraud prevention to a wide audience. It was very helpful to people.
Wow. And you have did I hear correctly that you and your partner also have a web series?
Oh yeah, that's Cyber Sly. Cyber Sly's the host of the show. He's a nice guy. He used to be a con man, but he turned his life around, and now what we do is we work together to keep people safe.
Wow, that's wonderful. That you took a part to transform a life of a con artist into helping people prevent being conned by the con artist.
Yes. It takes a thief to catch a thief.
It does catch a thief. It does, Does that mean it takes a murderer to catch a murder?
No, this is scaring me.
Okay, I'm sorry. But, I know that your creator, Ken Harris, has written a movie called A Mind for Murder. So how did that make you feel?
Oh, wonderful. And you know what? We sat together and he takes my character and put it in a movie. I can't believe he did that, but I'm happy he did it. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he cast it as in human form.
Yes, his name is Alex Midas. I believe my character is the owner of he runs the shoe department in the store. It's called Fashion Spear. And I'm very grumpy because I'm owed $300 reward for snitching on somebody for stealing. I'm still waiting for my my reward money.
Yeah, so many years ago when you were scammed, were you able to get your money back from that scam? Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. Cyberslide, you want to take over? I'm about to cry.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in. So yeah, I mean, I can see how using a puppet to tell a story is fabulous. It reaches out to many audiences. It's obviously entertaining, but it shares real information, really educates you too.
Yeah, I actually heard a story about a grandfather who was a victim of a grandparent scam. He received a call, I believe this was out of Long Meadow, if I'm not mistaken, and he was told by a town in somewhere in upstate New York, that his grandson was arrested for a hit and run, and that his grandson was held in jail, and I think $5,000 bond was needed in order for him to be released. So this grandfather thought he was talking to the lawyer of his grandson. So what he was told was to wire money, and he did it multiple times throughout the day. And I believe that there is an alert clerk at the Big Y store that realized, wait a minute, what's going on here? So the clerk notified the police. The police came and talked to the elderly gentleman, and it was determined that after contacting the police station in this town in New York, that the grandson was not in any custody.
No, I've heard stories like that. I've had, even friends who have gone through that. Another grandmother had been called that her daughter was at the beach and she needed money to get her car fixed, and she called her granddaughter and said, "Are you at the beach?" And the granddaughter was home.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many ways that people are scamming. So it's great that you make people aware of situations that also, provide them for prevention. I want to talk about the movie a little bit, but I'm going to jump ahead because you have the one-man show we were talking about is Foes of a Minimum Wage Guard. And again, I'm going to put this little poster right here for it. But this show has a lot to do with everything we're talking about and teaching people history and just awareness. You want to tell us a little bit about the show, but then I want to talk to you about how you wrote it and how everything is going down.
Well, I'm sure that most everyone would agree that we all have a liking for the old department stores of the past and the malls that closed in recent years.
So sad. Sad.
I've had many great memories working in the malls. I worked at just about every mall here in Western Massachusetts. Loss prevention, security. I worked for the Eastfield Mall briefly. I worked at the Fairfield Mall in Chicopee. I also worked at the Tower Square Mall as a security / reserve police officer. And I worked at the Enfield Square Mall for Macy's as a loss prevention retail guard.
Well, I have been to all those malls as a consumer shopper, but I'll share. I actually, in my high school years, I was a model, so there was posters of me hanging in some of those stores, in Lerner's and Steiger's, and I was a perfume model once, and I remember at Bay State Towers, I got to do mannequin modeling, which was very fun, but kind of hard when the little kids are coming up to you and trying to, get you to, laugh, and you have to be so serious. So I'm thinking, I wonder if we ran into each other back then. Maybe.
You never know. But I'll assure you that if you had any of your advertising hung up, I didn't take it down. I mean, we were told to, but I was like, nah.
Well, you might have protected the perfume models at some point. Yeah. I hope I didn't spray you in the eye. Come here, try this. Everyone would walk away and you'd still keep spraying it.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a loss prevention retail guard, I worked under the loss prevention department team, and I assisted with confronting shoplifters. I'm also on the floor reporting as a field officer, reporting information to the loss prevention department. So throughout my experience there, I've met a lot of interesting characters. Yeah. You never know who's stealing, whether they're employees or whether they're customers. You just cannot judge a book by its cover. I've seen a lot. I've seen a 80-year-old
eyes on everyone.
Yeah, I've seen an 80-year-old grandmother steal, and of course, that's kind of sad because not everyone gets arrested. There's restitutions you have to pay. Then they're put on trespass from the mall. But I came up with this story because of all these. It was just a story that was just evolving in my head, of this story of this old security guard who's reassigned against his will and forced to combat rapid shoplifting single-handedly, because everyone else has been fired or they let go in the story. So I thought it would be an interesting story that highlights our passion for those department stores and malls of the past. So I wrote this story, and I can't believe I've never written like this. I actually took out a notebook, and because of the idea that's been floating around in my head for years, I started writing, and I couldn't stop writing.
I know that feeling.
And I just couldn't stop writing. And then I think by the end of the week, I had a 90-minute play, and that's never happened to me before. Because typically, as a writer, I would like to plan what I write.
Well, of course, we all want to do that, but sometimes when the binge hits, you got to take that binge. I mean, I always say, like, there's those stories in the air, and, I know musicians relate to this a lot. Like, you're laying in bed at night and a song comes to you, and if you don't get up and write it right then, it can be gone.
Yeah.
So, kudos to you for sitting down and doing that.
Thank you. I think it can resonate with to a mass appeal because it deals with the story of self-discovery. The main character, Steve Smelly, he's 68 years old. He's 5 years away from retiring. He's been working 20 years as a retail guard. He enjoys his job. He's a widower, and his job consists of just walking around the store, saying hello, hi, and just reporting suspicious activity to his team. That's all he does. But then in the story, he's not what you call promoted. He's reassigned, and he's told he has to do it or he will be fired. This is and
he's worked there a long time.
Yeah, this is a new district loss prevention manager who's decided to make that choice because there's no one else to do the job. And there's a clause in the application 20 years ago where if there's a position opening, that retail guard must fill that position as a loss prevention officer.
So Officer Smelly.
Yeah, Officer Smelly. So
gets the job.
Yeah, so what the story, what it conveys is that no matter how old you are, you can still learn about yourself. If you're put in some unpredictable predicament and you're forced to undergo it, you can learn a lot about yourself in the story. You can learn about the friends and the co-workers that you're closely with.
Yeah, that support you, that are there for you,
Right. So
how many characters do you have in this?
There's
one-man show. One man.
one solo show. There's 12 different characters, exactly 12 different characters.
And you play them all.
And I play them all. They have different personalities. They have different strengths and different weaknesses. And as I'm writing the story, what helped me is these are characters that I didn't make up. These are characters that I know, that I've met in my life, whether going back 20 years ago. There's just, and I feel guilty because I didn't make them up. They're just characters, the people that I know, but they're just sucked into my mindset with regards to how they're crucial to this story. So I think that really helped me out with just writing the story within a week. But of course, all writing requires edits. So I would go in there and I'll just make my little edits here and there. I couldn't write a better solo play than I did. It's just amazing.
So it took you about a week to get that first draft done. And then how long from the first draft to where you are right now, where you're about 3 weeks away from presenting it on a stage with an audience? You have 3 big nights, or 3 show nights coming up, and then you'll be probably traveling and going around to towns and doing it. And then the next thing I know, I'll be interviewing you because someone's going to be making it into a movie, and then the 12 characters are now 12 different actors playing these roles, and I can totally see this, and I'm so excited.
From the time that I actually took me a week to read, it took me maybe months to rewrite it. The story was actually
rewriting is sometimes it can be really good, and sometimes it can be.
It was over a 2-hour play when it was freshly done. The first time I wrote it out, it was over 2 hours. So I had to go in there, and one of the hardest thing about writing is removing stuff.
Yeah.
Touching up on dialogue, removing unnecessary scenes, trying to narrow down the perspective of the the characters as they're expressing themselves. So I found that very challenging. I always felt, now looking back, I think the first draft is so easy, but then the rewriting.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know how much percentage. I mean, I would say 50% is just generating the first draft, and then the other 50% of your work is involved with editing, rewriting,
workshopping, things like that.
I like, it's so much fun just writing it.
It's totally fun. I have so many that are written, and then I know I need to go back to edit them. And I have found, like, with editing them, it's helpful for me, and I don't know if you find this, like, to read through it out loud, either to yourself or to someone else, to find out, does it sound the way I think it should be sounding, because on a page, especially with a play, because with a play, we're talking like we normally talk. Whereas sometimes when we write, we try to write a little bit more grammatically correct. And, the play that I'm working on myself right now is, going through that dialogue to say, okay, where am I getting too long-winded talking, or where do I need to tell more? And, the editing process of doing that can take a while, because you have to be comfortable with what you're writing, but you also need to be able to portray it to the audience how you want it to come across.
Absolutely. And then you want to, it's good to get feedback, but you want to receive critical feedback. I've had some friends that just look at me and said, "Oh, I like the script." I don't believe you. Are you just telling me that because you like me?
Well.
So I've always looked for, like, I would go to people that I trust and say, "Hey, look, I know I'm reaching out to you because I know you're not into it, but you seem like a straightforward friend. Tell me what you think about this story." And I've had some friends tell me, "I don't like this. This scene is garbage, or this scene is that," or, well, they didn't say garbage.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I have a scene that I was reviewing with a friend the other day. We were doing, like, I call a reading of it. She was doing a character, I was doing a character, and then we got to this one scene. And I looked at her and I go, "I feel like there's too much here." And she goes, "I think the whole scene needs to go. You don't even need it in here." And I was like, okay, maybe you're right. So I literally removed the whole scene. Right. And of course, killing the darlings, you're like, but it's my work and it means something. But that's almost like that rough draft of letting me feel the character out and get to know the character more to be able to tell it in other scenes in other ways.
Whatever recommendations that I receive from that point, what I do is I say, okay, let me record myself. So that would be the next step. So I would take the recommendations from a friend, and I would record myself speaking, and then I would say, that does make sense. I think I'll remove that. She was right about that, or he was right about that. Or I would say, I don't want to remove that, but I'll remove this. Yes. So it allows me to just pinpoint what needs to be modified or altered.
So the show is an hour and a half now?
It's actually an hour, a 90-minute show. Okay. Fast pace. There's not a dull moment. And when writing a solo play,
do you have time to take a sip of water in there, I hope?
No.
I'm thinking, how do you catch your breath going from character to character? And I'll say there was a woman who travels. I wish I could remember her name right now, but she does the story of Queen Elizabeth, and she portrays Queen Elizabeth throughout time. So she's constantly changing wardrobes to show the passage of time and talking incessantly, telling the story in a monologue form for, an hour, over an hour. And I just think, she's got to have a drink somewhere. Like, you got to catch your breath. But when you're that one-man show, a one-woman actress, you got to just kind of keep going. And we talked about Chaz in the Bronx Tales. And I know after seeing him at MGM, watching him on stage, portraying all these characters, it's a lot of work. So you've taken on a lot doing this, faux story of the mall security.
Yeah, I talked to Chaz and I said, well, what's your opinion? I should perform some scenes. I described the scenes for him. And he looked at me and said, Mr. Kenny, how long is the show? I said, 90 minutes. And I would never forget his words. He told me, listen to me. If you can execute this, the way you're showing me, if you can execute this in 90 minutes, you have something. I said, wow. But he said, you got to work. He said, just remember, you're the only one up there.
Yeah.
And, going back to the drink of water, what helps me through that is the characters have their personalities. So I'm in character. So my character may not want a drink of water, even though I may want to drink water. Yeah. But then after the 90-minute show, I'm looking for
I know.
Of water.
I'm like, all right,
Where is it?
A sip of water right now.
Where is it? But anyone who's thinking about writing a solo play, just keep in mind, every scene must have a sense of urgency. A character must not have all the time in the world to accomplish something. There should be an overall goal for the entire piece. But as I wrote Foes of Minimum Wage Guard, I realized I made every scene crucial. Every scene has a purpose. Every scene you have a limited amount of time for the main character, which is Steve Smelly in this story, to get something done. If he doesn't get it done, he's in trouble. In this story, he risks being fired in every scene. Every scene, there's a tension in each scene, and he doesn't want to get fired. He want to retire in 5 years, pay off his mortgage, and give his house to his daughter.
Oh.
So that's his
caring
goal.
and loving guy for sure, hard worker, and I mean the show's going to be great. Can we tell them when the shows are? Can we put that in right now? And
absolutely, we're looking at July 21st at the Knights of Columbus in Chicopee,
yeah.
And we're looking at August 3rd at the Springfield Mass studio at the
Gasoline
Alley. And then the August 24th, we're looking at Holyoke Media at One Square in Holyoke.
And where can
Mass.
they get tickets for the show?
They can do it online at Eventbrite. They can follow me on Facebook, Ken Harris, and there's a link to the.
Yeah, you're on Amazon. Look up Ken Harris. You'll see all his books there. Go to your website, which I will post in the link below. And, The Mind for Murder, which is the movie that you wrote, that is coming out soon, right?
Yes, it premiered, I believe, in April at the South Hadley Tower Theater.
I was there. I got to go. It was very exciting.
And we're looking to get the show on Amazon Prime as we speak. So Anthony from Celador Productions is working on that as we speak.
Yeah, that's so great. So, I mean, again, you're multi-hyphenated man doing all of these different things. It's awesome. I wish you all the best. I am right there next to you, cheering you on and following for sure. We didn't even get to talk about the Night Terror book, but again, you're writing some, scary horror things. You got The Mind for Murder, but talking about cybersecurity, talking about the story and the history of the malls, and bringing all of that, to light to everyone is just wonderful. So, audience, I'm telling you, Ken Harris, follow this guy because he's multi-talented, multi-hyphenated, award-winning filmmaker, author, novelist, puppeteer, actor. I don't know.
Thank you.
Got to touch him for luck because, man, he is on a roll. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you,
really
Patty.
appreciate this.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you, my listening audience, for coming here every week and listening to the show and finding out why writers are writing and how they started writing and what motivates them and what their passion was for writing. And everybody has that story inside of them. As Ken was saying, he was working mall security. I mean, he was getting these characters coming to him in his head, and now he's created this one-man show. And maybe you're looking to do a show. Maybe you want to create a show. Maybe you want to write a story. Maybe you just want to write down a memoir of the people in your life. So today, when I give you this writing prompt, I think you're going to have some fun with it. So here we go. Are you ready? When the show ends, put your timer on, your microwave, your phone timer, whatever it is. Set it for about 10 minutes. If you want to write longer, set it longer. And what I want you to do is write down some of the characters that you have in your life. Who are some of the people that you've met? Who are the people in your neighborhood? But, write them down. Write some character descriptions. And, when you're doing a story, right there, you're already creating personalities that you can use on a page. And that's just one way of telling stories. And maybe you're going to tell it from a human perspective or a puppet's perspective. That's up to you. So start writing about your characters. List 3, 4, 10 of them. You're going to have fun with this writing assignment. Have a really great day. I want to thank Studio 954 for making this show possible. Thank you for tuning in each week so that I can learn about writing and you can learn about writing and we can learn about the writers and where to read their things. So have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to yWrite. I'm Angela Grout. See you next time.